Hi all, welcome to the channel, welcome to the workshop. So today we have the next 6 issues of the 66 Batmobile. And as you can see from the workbench, we've got quite a large piece today. So let's get into it, let's get building. Right, so we're going to kick off today with issue 15, and as you can see, we do have quite a large piece. Now, issue 15, full disclosure, I've had a look at the instructions in this bit, and this is pretty much a teaser piece, because all we're doing today, or certainly for this issue, we're just removing that bar. We're not doing anything else in issue 15 with this, so and we've got this pipe to attach to the engine, so you'll see that in a moment, but I promise you we will be using that in this build pack. So quick flick through the magazine as normal, and as you can see we have got this first part of the sub-assembly for the chassis. We do have a new screwdriver as well, and as you can see we're attaching a pipe and we're taking out 2 screws, which is the bracing for it for packaging, and then that's it. So we get that done. That's not going to take very long at all. So we've got this length of pipe, and we've got this gold part down here, and we're just simply going to be attaching one of the ends to that little nodule, and that's on there like that. Just going to put that to one side for a moment, and then I will do it because the instructions tell me to, and I know we've got to do it anyway later, but we've just got to remove this bracing bar, and this is just so it doesn't get crushed when it's being shipped. So we don't need to keep this bar, and we don't need to keep these screws. But that is all there's to do in stage 15. So we are moving on to stage 16 now. And again, just quick flick through. Again, really nice magazine to be fair. And you can see we've got a few more chassis parts, and we are going to be extending the chassis that we got in issue 15. And we're going to end up with something that looks like that. So we've got this and this, and we do have a set of tweezers as well. So not sure why we've got those at the minute, but I'm sure all will be revealed in a future issue. So we've got our Crossmember. These are metal, as is this, and we're going to be placing that in there like so. Just making sure I've got this the correct way around, because I'm sure there's probably a way around this is going to go. I don't think it's symmetrical. Not sure. Quite possibly it's symmetrical. We'll find out at some point, I'm sure. We're going to use a GM screw for that one. And make sure you've got your pot of oil to hand, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of metal screwing on this. So I've got that in there, just like so. Now I need to bring up this part, and that's going to go just in there, like so. And we're going to use 2 EM screws to hold that onto there. Now you probably are going to need a PH1 screwdriver for this, assuming you're not using the one supplied by Fanhome. I'll just show you that. So in issue 15 we did get this one, and it does look to be a PH1. But that is all there is to do in that stage. Right, so we're moving on to issue 17. Again, there's not a great deal to do in this issue. We're just building this up and joining it together like so. And these are, again, another couple of metal parts. So we've got this piece first, and then we're going to be adding this piece in here. And we're using 2 AM screws for that. Now, if you pulled all your parts out at once, it is worth noting that these are marked with an L, so it's the left side we're working on. I do know we've got the right side in the pile of parts for this build pack. So we've got that in there. Now, what they want us to do is put an AHM screw in both of these just to cut those threads. Again, still using a bit of oil. And just make sure that goes in nicely. So we've cut the threads in there now, so it should be a lot easier to get this to go in here. Just like so. Now, my guess is you don't want this too tight because I'm guessing there's going to be some movement in that for the suspension, etc. But that is all there is to do in that stage. Right, so moving on to issue 18. And as you can see, we've got very similar parts to what we had in the last stage. And as you can see, still working on the front suspension, etc. And this time we've got the right side to do. And we're going to be just joining that up like this. And it looks like we are mounting it to a chassis. And it looks like we're even mounting the engine into the chassis this time. So lots to do in this stage. So we're going to start off like we did before with that piece in there. And we're going to use the AM screws for that. Do make sure you get it the right way around. Otherwise the holes don't line up. So just putting that one in there. And that one in there. Like so. And again, this is marked with an R. So you do know that you've got the right parts. Now, similar to what we did with the other one, we do need to put 2 AHM screws in here. And that's just going to cut the threads. So I will do that. And again, just back it out. And then we've got this piece first. We're going to be adding our right hand side to it. Again, this is using the AHM screw. Just in there. And then we're taking this part and we're going to be securing that on there, again, using the AHM screws. One in there. And the other one just going in here. So we now have that assembly looking like that. We're going to take this assembly and our chassis with it upside down. And where we're going to put this in, we're going to fold those up. We're going to drop it in to this little gap here. Like that and like that. And then you can see we've got 4 points to secure it, and we're going to use the CM screws for this. And I've got the last one just going in here. So we now have that looking like that. Now this is where we will be getting our engine, and we'll be placing it into here. Now we do need to make sure we've got cables running in the correct way. And if I just flip this over, we've got to make sure the cables that we have running out the bottom of the engine do go through that gap, and then we've got 2 holes we need to line up. So if I just flip the whole thing over, you can see we've got the 2 engine brackets there and there. And then all we need to do is just line that up with the 2 holes we've got in the chassis rail here. Like so. Now see, you want to be careful you don't break anything off the top of your engine doing this. But we're going to use 2 AM screws to hold that in place. So the best way to do this is probably support the engine and let the chassis just rest on top of it. And then we'll just screw those in. One in there. And one just in there. Now just make sure none of these cables are trapped by the chassis, so they are coming out of the bottom like that. And I'm going to finish this off with 1 CM screw going into the chassis, into the gearbox part there. So again, just supporting the engine. And we have the engine mounted to our chassis like that. And that is all there is to do in that stage. So moving on with stage 19. And I'm sure we've got some extra suspension and linkages there we need to sort out. So here's the stabilizer arms. And it looks like we've got some fill-in pieces going in there and in there. And from the looks of it, possibly the starting of the steering assembly. We have these plastic pieces. 4 of them total, all different shapes and sizes, and they are to match up with the shapes we've got here and all the various screw holes. Now they are marked, so you've got a right one, left one, another right one, and this has got to be another left one, so they are all marked with left and right. So probably best to see on the top camera, but we've just got to place them in like this. So we've got the left one going in here, and then we've got the right ones going in like this. And like this. And all those are going to be secured in with AM screws. And that's the last one of those going in there. So all 4 of those pieces are now secured in place. We then have these 2 pieces, and they are going just in the end of these parts here. And yeah, and we're going to secure both of those from underside with a KP screw. These are tiny screws, so you're going to have to change a bit from a pH1 to probably a pH 0. So again, just watching out for the engine if you do tip it all the way over. Now, I almost went and stuck this in oil. We've had so many metal screws in this build. These are the first plastic ones we've had in this stage. Just make sure that's tight in there. Same for this side. Again, just popping it in the end there, and then screwing it from underneath. So those two are in there looking just like that. We then need to take our stabilizing bar, and again we need to flip this upside down. Right, so the way this is going to go, it's going to go this way up. You need to feed it through those two arms, and then what's going to happen is it's going to clip onto there and onto here, and then when that sits down it should sit in the little channel you can see there, and we're going to use that channel to help secure this by getting the last couple of brackets, and we'll put them over the top of here, and we're going to use 2 AM screws for each of those brackets. Again, just supporting the chassis so we're not pushing down on that engine. So we've got one in there. I'm going to do the exact same thing for this side. So we've got both of those in there like that. And that is all there's to do in that stage. Right, so moving on to the last stage of this build pack, issue 20. And as you can see, still working on the suspension. So we've got a spring in this one. And it looks like we are building up the front suspension on one of the sides here. And we're going to have the top part of the suspension, and we're going to have it all looking like that. So we have looks like working suspension and possibly a bit of a steering knuckle by the time we finish this one. We've got plenty of screws in this stage. Right, we're kicking off with this piece, and as you can hear, that is metal. We have that piece and that piece. And the way this is going, we're going to have it this way up, and we're going to have this piece. Now they are two different pieces, so you just need to make sure we've got the right way around. I'm sure they are different. They are. So we've got one that's a little bit thicker and one that's a little bit narrower. It's the narrower one that will go on the top here, like so. We're going to use a WM screw to secure that in place. And then this one here is going to go onto here. And again, another WM screw to go all the way through there. So one in there. And one just in the bottom here. So that's looking just like that. I'm going to put that to one side for a moment. And we're going to grab out that piece. And again, another piece of metal. And that piece there. And with this piece this way around, we're going to take our little dog bone shaped bit. And we're going to place that in there like so. We're going to use 2 CM screws to hold that in place. And if you notice, only one end of this has a hole in, so just make sure you get that the right way around. So it's looking like that. We're going to take our upper wishbone. That's going to go just like this. And we're going to secure that with 2 EM screws on either side. So we've got that looking like that. Again, I've not tightened them really heavily, so that has some wiggle room. You now need to take this piece, and again, another piece of metal, and we're going to put those bits to one side and bring over our chassis. And hopefully you can see this on one of the cameras. What we need to do is pull this down slightly. We need to take our spring, that needs to go up inside here, and we need to make sure it sits on this little cup. Now, I haven't actually checked if there's a little cup. Yes, there's a little cup up inside there as well, so you need to make sure this spring sits between both of those. Like so. And then we've got this piece. Now that's going to go through the hole at the bottom, you see it there. And it's going to go all the way up the top. And then we're going to line it up with the hole you see at the top here. And then we need to secure that with an AM screw. An AIM screw, actually. So if you compress it, you can see that it does come up and protrude through that hole. So that will tell you you've got it all lined up correctly. So that's in there like so. Make sure it's that way around, and then we're going to secure that with 2 AM screws. And again, with your engine upside down, just be careful all those bits on top. I know I've said that several times, but I wouldn't want anything to get broken. Right, so we've got 2 AM screws going in there. So that is now secured to that, like that. Now I'm going to flip that back up the other way. I'm going to take our steering arm, and that is going to sit just in there like so. We're also going to take our top mount, and that is going to sit on there like that, making sure that is over the top of that steering arm like so. Now I'm just going to secure that with 2 CM screws. And that's one in there, and one just in there, like so. And to secure the top and bottom of these, we need to use the AIM screws. So got one going in there. And one just in the bottom here. Again, you want to have some wiggle room on this so that your steering will operate. So that is now in there, like so. And that is all there is to do in that stage, and all there is to do in that build pack. So that is absolutely brilliant. Wow, that's certainly grown in size, hasn't it? And grown in weight. And the amount of metal we put in there, that is quite a weighty piece now. The car, obviously, I know these 1/8 scale cars are not light in any form or fashion, but yeah, that's a good weight to it. And that's just the chassis. So yeah, it's going to be weighty. I don't know how heavy the model was going to be. I don't know if we get that specification or not. But looking really, really good with that suspension all done in place. And obviously we've got that left hand turning knuckle bit in there now. So that's obviously where the wheel is going to sit quite nicely in there. But yeah, looking really, really good. And I should probably do what Wayne does on the World of Wayne and compare the size to your head. Because Wayne's head is a universal measure. So that is pretty big now. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed that content. If you did, please remember to give me a big thumbs up. If you want to see more of how the Batmobile progresses or anything else that goes on in the workshop, please do remember to hit the subscribe button and ding that bell. It's free, it's not going to bother you, and it really does help the channel out. Until the next time, I'll see you around. Cheers.